In the last 20 years, Ping have come out with some iconic drivers, and with the new drivers in 2025 just around the corner, how are they going to improve? And with such drivers as the G2, which was iconic and which was the first driver that I ever had, and you'll see that on screen now with the huge moon-shaped alignment aid on the top to get that ball centered, to the latest, the G430 10K Max. Ping have certainly changed the industry. They have changed a lot of things. They've been a leader in this market, but what can they do going forwards? That's what we need to talk about. Today I don't have the latest and greatest from Ping, but I do have a driver for me which was right up there, and that driver is the G400. For me, one of the drivers that did exceptionally well for Ping. I've got that in an 8.5 loft, and again we can see that it's got everything on the top. But this year the big question is 2025, is it the end of the Turbulators? Obviously one big thing when we get in the comments when we talk about Ping are those Turbulators on the top. Are they helping you? Are they hindering you? Or do they just put you off behind the golf ball? A lot of people don't like the look behind the golf ball, and that's maybe why you've never had a Ping driver. But what direction will they go into going into 2025? Like we say there, will they get rid of the Turbulators? Again, what will they do in regards to the sound? The sound is one big thing with Ping that has been a talking point. Again, this driver, certainly for me, sounds a little bit louder than the latest. As you can see there, performs exceptionally well. A louder sound than the G430 10K Max, but straight down the middle, still performing ridiculously well. And have Ping made a massive mistake, obviously, with that 10K driver? Was the 10K and that forgiveness, did it kill the other two? Because obviously, when we think about that, what did they do in that 10K driver? Well, they put the carbon top on there so they could spread the weight, so they got the forgiveness, but they also then was able to bring the spin down. So it was a forgiving driver that you could take spin off, so it was not only obviously more forgiving potentially than the Max, it sounded better than the Max, so you maybe, even if you're a high handicapper golfer, an entry level, you might have gone for that driver. But there was a lot of players on tour using that driver because, again, it was extremely forgiving and it was also then low spin, so they could get as much distance as possible out it. So it was ticking a lot of boxes, but then did that obviously then kill the LS model? Did it kill the LS tech that this is? Because she was getting it all from that one driver. For me there, 8.5. Look at the launch on that. That's low spinning. That's why this driver was so great over the years and won majors. But obviously now is this LST model redundant from Ping? And guys, if you're new to the channel, then welcome to this YouTube channel. If you want to hit that subscribe button and join us on that journey to 50,000. And guys, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, welcome back, and I hope you're enjoying the content. So like I said there, has it made the other two drivers redundant? Yes, the Ping 10K driver, the 430 Max 10K, was a fantastic driver, but obviously did it put off sales in the other two? Because obviously you was getting everything, you was getting forgiveness, depending on what shaft and how you got fitted, you could get as much spin as you wanted. So did it make the other two, like we say, not worth purchasing? Because again, the price wise, yes, they were a little bit cheaper than the 10K, but also, why would you bother with the other two if you're getting it all from that one driver? That driver right there was as forgiving as it can possibly go, and it did do fantastic this year. We know obviously next year they will be bringing new drivers out. What are they going to do? The Turbulators for me is one big talking point, because a lot of people always mention that whenever we do a Ping review. Mid-handicap Dave always says he's not bothered how it looks because it's all about performance, but I know a lot of you mention that you don't want to see that down behind the golf ball. There's too much going on behind that, so will they get rid of those? Because again, other brands, you haven't seen any other brands go to that. Yes, we've seen a lot of carbon come back into all brands. We haven't seen Turbulators on really on any other drivers as much so as we do see with Ping. So guys, get in those comments below. Has anyone got the G430 10K Max and that's the best driver you've ever had? Or has anyone still got this driver, the G400? A fantastic driver, like we say, still sounds a little bit louder because there has been obviously a lot of changes with the Ping regarding that sound. But for me down here, as we get down there, you'll see it's performed absolutely fantastic. I've hit some great drives out here earlier on in a match against James Robinson. So for me, it's a driver that's performing well, We can pick it up at around about £350, I believe it was, from Golf Clubs for cash. So you can get it second hand for half price, maybe the latest and greatest. But what do you think's coming from Ping next? And we can see down here in the fairway there with a good shot into this par 5. As long as anything that I've hit this year, and this driver is not the latest. Now a big question for me, has the G430 10K Max annoyed a lot of Ping people? Has it killed obviously your thoughts behind them? Because obviously we know that Ping have a 2-year cycle. The last cycle, obviously we know that they brought out the G430 range, and then last year they added that 10K Max. So you might have bought the G430, you might be a Ping man or Ping lady, and you bought the Pings because that's exactly what you are used to. But then they brought out this driver that was better, more forgiving, bigger head, carbon top, ticking a lot more boxes. I know they offered money back, and obviously for exchange you could change those drivers, but has the 10K obviously then made the other two drivers irrelevant? That's the big question for me. That's the big question that I want you guys to get in the comments below and tell me. Would that now change your mind? Are you worried that Ping could do this again? Or do you think they will go back to their normal cycle and you can go back to trusting that and making sure you get the right one? Now for me, you'll see from the top of this G400, this was probably the furthest they went on the top of the driver. So we see we've got the turbulators, but then we've also got those turbulators going all the way to the back, or certainly something for you to look down on. And I think after this we went to the G410. So again for me, big changes on that driver, started to look a little bit more neutral on top, still had the turbulators, but wasn't as much going on. So was that maybe a sign from Ping that they thought they needed to change the top of the driver? Obviously we know when they've gone now to that G430 10K Max, we've got that carbon on the top. It certainly looks a lot better behind the golf ball. It certainly sounds better to me, and this is maybe why they had a bigger share in the market last year, because again, sound has improved, performance has improved, and they got right to the edge of obviously that forgiveness scale. So they was getting the most forgiveness like we've mentioned. But are they going to redesign the total look of it, or do you think it'll be very similar going into next year? Again, nice and high there, good launch. Certainly that louder sound like we've mentioned, but straight down on the right hand side of that fairway. So for me, this is a driver that I thoroughly enjoyed, and this is where we will jump in the studio shortly and see how this still performs. Because are you going into January, into February thinking, well, do you know what, I know the new drivers will be coming out, so does that mean that G430 10K Max is going to come down half price? Am I going to be able to get that at a great bargain price for you? Saves you money, maybe put that extra money towards golf lessons. What will they do to that? But for me, this driver just keeps on performing. Straight down the fairway, that's 4 for 4 down the fairway. Let's jump in the studio, let's see how this does for numbers. Because don't forget, this is an older driver. If you're looking in a different market, if you want to look at maybe getting, like we say, those bargains coming in January where there's going to be a lot of sales, then you want to know how they're still going to perform for that price. As we know, here inside, we can hear that sound again, but let's see what the numbers say. Let's see what the carry is. 263 carry, going just under 280. 3,000 spin there, exactly what you'd expect from that ball fight. You could see that it did spin up a little bit. That is more obviously me and the contact as opposed to the driver. But the sound, obviously a big difference. James has just informed me this was called the
dragonfly effect.
Dragonfly effect.
And there was an internal dragonfly effect.
And there was an internal dragonfly effect. So again, a lot of technology in here, but we know it doesn't have the carbon that we do get in the latest drivers, where Ping have obviously gone down that road with other brands. We know with TaylorMade, we know the same with Callaway. Again, felt a reasonable strike. We can see just leaking out to the right. 261 carry, going 276. So Two not fantastic strikes, over 3,000 spin, but you can still see there we're getting a lot of, obviously, forgiveness. For me, a good drive would be close to 300 yards. We see right there, even a miss hit's losing 20 yards, but we would take that.
Good ball speed though, 165 realistically.
Yep. 165, so that's very good. So that just shows obviously where we're striking the face. Again, that was a little bit low on the face there, which is going to increase that spin, get it going that kind of direction. And this is where we've talked about in this, where this LS Tech, is it going to be non-existent next year? Because we know a lot of people have gone into that 10K driver because you've got the forgiveness, because you've got the carbon, and you've got that bigger head, so they might feel a little bit more comfortable behind it. Again, there we can see spins up again. What carry are we going to get? A little bit less there, nearly up to 4,000. This is where, even as a professional, even as a teaching professional and playing pretty much most days, we can see off-centered hits. Do I want to sacrifice that much distance? 253 carry, 266, so just under 270. That's 30 yards down. I don't feel like I'm swinging the club too bad. We can see here on the screen, we've got the path working 2.9 degrees to the left, and we can see the face is pretty square, so we can see that's why that's just worked down the left-hand side of this area. But is it then worth it for that 10K driver? Is it something that, yes, although this is exactly £329 here from Golf Clubs for Cash, is it worth it for that driver? But are you going to get a bargain in January when these new drivers come out from Ping, whatever they may be? Are you going to be able to get that G430 10K max driver at a bargain price? And that one there's a better ball flight, the best strike of the lot. How will this perform? 280 going 305. So spin down at 2,000, good ball speed, 165, a centre strike. So yes, if we do get this right, we can hit it a long way, just as far as the latest drivers, but not as forgiving in this LST. Let's get back outside. Now, interesting numbers there inside. This driver still performing, and for me, like I said, since the G2, this has been my favourite driver that Ping have brought out. I know there's a lot going on there, and we always talk about that, but for me, performance-wise, it's still as good as anything. We know that probably the G430 is the range, the latest range that you're thinking about, and has maybe improved your game, but like we say, next year, where will they go? Because we need a driver that performs for you. Like that driver has performed for me. Always a nemesis on this hole, but that is a long way around the corner. Are you looking for Ping next year? If so, what do you think they're going to be bringing out? And are you going to be looking to purchase that?